The dark forces of Dol Guldur and Mordor have mustered an army of 15,000 strong as the first waves are sent into the lands of Mirkwood under the cover of trees and darkness within the forest. The servants of evil think they are safe within this forest, however they are gravely mistaken. The elves of Mirkwood and the Woodland realm have had their rangers stalk these orcs like prey for days. They are informing Frangil about the movements, and now he is preparing for a massive battle to hold back the forces of darkness from entering the Woodland realm. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to some more Total War Rise of Mordor. We are back with another scenario battle, so I hope you guys are looking forward to this. If you guys do not know what these scenario battles are, basically it is a string of battles that follow on from one another. Each battle has a set objective, so they're kind of a very nice mixture of competitive battles as both sides are trying to play or trying to win, and there also are a nice mix of a scenario. As you can see, this story is going to lead on, and depending on the outcome of this battle, that is going to gravely affect the next battle. If the orcs do win, then that's going to change what the next battle is going to be, and vice versa. Maybe the elves go ahead and take the advantage, and that's going to completely hamper the scenario in the next battle, which should be really exciting in this one. So obviously in this battle, the first battle of the scenario, the elves have to go ahead and hold the enemy back for 30 minutes. That is their objective. Their objective is not to win this engagement. Their objective is to simply go ahead and just repel the enemy forces, stop them from breaking through for as long as possible. And the forces of evil, their plan and their objective is to make it to the other side of the map. So they have to go from here, obviously through the elven forces, and make it to the back end right here. And if they do that, they will be victorious. However, that's not all that is at stake, because in these scenario battles, casualties mean a hell of a lot. Every dead soldier in this battle is going to not make it to the next engagement. So if a unit gets completely wiped out in this battle, it will not be in this next scenario. If a unit is down to half strength, it will merge with another unit. So really, every elf in this battle will make such a big difference as the scenario goes on, and vice versa for the orcs. Obviously, the orcs are going to have numerous amounts of soldiers, so it's not like they're going to be as hampered by this rule compared to an elite faction like the elves. However, the scenarios are built around that, so it's going to be really exciting to see how this one does turn out. I absolutely adore these scenario battles because, as I said, they're such a great mixture of really awesome rules with the scenarios panning off from one another, the casualties actually meaning something, and the objectives in the mid-battle, and obviously the fact that both players are really trying to win, or all four players, because this is a 2 versus 2, are all trying to win and claim victory. So this scenario battle will be covered on the channel over the next couple of weeks. I believe they have the majority of them done right now, so I can go ahead and basically just kind of rattle them off every couple of days. So if you are looking forward to this, then make sure you go ahead and drop a like and a comment down below. I'll also go ahead and leave a playlist in the top of the comments from the really awesome Road to Gundabad series that they did. It was such an epic. The dwarves were trying to reclaim the mountain of Gundabad. It was a very cool scenario. So if you watch this and you want to see more, and maybe more of these aren't out yet, you can go check that out. And obviously subscribe for more, drop a like and a comment down below if you enjoyed this. The better these videos do, the more likely I'll do more of them in the future. So we take a nice little overview of the battlefield, and the elves have already started to unleash their volleys there. They've got their forest rangers right here, and we'll go on a little bit of slow-mo right now as the volleys do go off. As you can see, we have a hell of a lot of soldiers. Something I didn't even mention is we have 20,000 soldiers on the battlefield, just a casual 20,000 elves and orcs ready to fight and die. But yeah, so far we have the elves set up in a pretty nice ambush position right here. Just going to be hammering away the orcs in their marching column as they push their way further and further forward. Obviously, the main meat of the elven army is a bit further back, and they have a reinforcement contingent that will be making their way onto the battle slowly, and obviously trying to pin the orcs in place. And the orcs obviously also have another reinforcement contingent over here as well. You can see just the sheer mass. I think this is what is making the battle a little bit laggy right there, but it's to be expected when you have this many soldiers. So far the elves are hammering away, and as you guys obviously would have seen from the intro of the video, the objective for the elves is not to win this battle. simple. It is just to hold off for 30 minutes and then retreat from the battlefield. Because again, retreating is also pretty important, as they do not want to lose their soldiers as well. God, imagine being an elf who's like been alive for 400 years or 500 years or 1,000 years, and you're shooting your arrow at the tree like that. Imagine that being you. Goddamn, how embarrassing. So even though the orcs are under heavy missile fire, they're still just pushing forward. I guess their objective is just to kind of bomb their way forward as best as they can, which is honestly not a bad idea, trying to make their way into just kind of, say, hey, if you're not going to throw infantry at us, we're going to absorb this ammunition and we're just going to go all the way forward, is honestly not a bad idea, because at the end of the day, one, I don't think the orcs can even see these guys because they've got the stalk ability, so they can shoot out of the forest and out of the bush without even being noticed. But also, these arrows aren't going to be racking up hundreds of kills. They're going to be doing, 14, 15, 16 kills. Isn't bad. But again, these elves aren't going to be, kind of doing that serious damage they need to. And all the forces of the Mordor have to do is break through this forest, get into the open clearing, and make it to the other end of the map. So at some point, the elves are going to have to throw something meteor, which I think is the orcs are currently waiting as they're getting hammered by arrow fire from every single side bow. This is really cool to see as the elves use their ranges extremely effectively, again, just to do as much damage as possible to this front line, really focusing obviously down the shock infantry. The Dogwood Door are making their way forward. You can see the ammunition really coming in now, doing some serious damage. And I think maybe once they start to take a bit too much damage, they'll start to fan out and deal with this. But again, it's not a bad play, just pushing forward, as I keep on saying, because it's not really like they'll be able to catch the elves. The elves are too nimble for them anyway, so they can send soldiers off and they can try their best to try and pin these guys down. But at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to really do too much, and their best bet is just to keep on pushing forward. Obviously, they have all these reserves back here. I'm not sure exactly when these get committed to the fight. I don't think it was actually shown. When, I think it was actually shown in the intro little kind of story they wrote, because that's one of the other awesome things as well, is they've been writing scripts for battles as well. I don't think it's really been shown, when these reinforcements come on, so we'll be able to see them hopefully fairly soon. Or maybe, again, this is like a battle. Definitely, I'm sure they could let us know now in the comments, but thinking about it now, actually, I wonder if all these soldiers are soldiers that they have in their army, but they're trying not to use them. They're trying to keep them in reserve, so for future battles, they'll have these fresh units ready to go, rather than depleted and merged units that necessarily are that little bit weaker. So yeah, I think that might actually be the case. I think they might be holding back reserves, and I think we might be seeing a lot of these soldiers not being committed to the battlefield, which is kind of interesting, or maybe they're only going to be committed if they have to be. So the orcs are continuing to push their way forward, looking just to progress their way down here. And I mean, so far, not bad. They're not actually that far away. They're halfway through the battle map right now. And they're able to basically absorb all this ammunition. The elves have 90 kills, 66 kills. This unit has 58. This one has 42. So they've done their damage, but is it going to be enough? Have they done damage to the more valuable units? This orc pillager unit is getting absolutely pillaged right now, hammered in the forest. Yeah, you can see them arrows coming in. Really, really deadly stuff right now as the arrows continue to find their mark. This unit is down to 65 men from 225, but the main body is still pushing on as they continue to just take this sheer harassment. The elves are falling back in several positions, and now let's jump ahead until the infantry are ready to push in to the elven main body. Okay, the orcs are double timing it now after making it their way through the forest and out into the open. They are hauling ass, being told to throw themselves forward, and now off in the distance, the elven front line is moved into position and have prepared themselves for the oncoming slaughter. I mean, that kind of initial barrage was really, really profitable for the elves, almost racking up over 1,000 kills from them archers. So definitely worth a while. And as you can see, the infantry are now pushing their way forward. The elven line is looking very thin as now they start to return fire. Finally, the orcs are like, hey, now it's our turn to unleash hell. Because again, a lot of the ammunition has been spent for the elves, so they don't really have much counter fire. And obviously, their arrows are immediately being focused down onto the sword masters right away. The ammunition that is still left alive, though, is now being volleyed off into the enemy position. And that's obviously going to be focusing down again a lot of the shock infantry. But I would not be surprised if we just saw the entire orc formation just completely swallow up these guys. It's really just engaged from every single side. I mean, they have the numbers. They are now in a battle formation. So yeah, we're definitely going to have to see exactly how this does work. And obviously there are still some elven archers behind, so these guys could look to outflank, maybe charge in, or just retreat. Again, remember, this is a scenario battle, so this is a unit that will be very useful later on down the line, and if they lose it, it is gone forever. This scenario could stretch anywhere between I think they said 5 to 7 battles is their plan. Sometimes it maybe go higher, but it could also go lower depending on the casualty rate of these battles. You know, how bloody are they? What factions are going to end up coming? You know, all of that stuff is going to play a big part in the battle for sure. And here we go. The front line has now engaged. We've got some of the pretty weak, but you know, these are sacrificial lambs from the orc rabble being sent their way forward. God damn, I hate how dark some of these units are in Attila. They've done a really good job with the Mordor units to make them way brighter, but even still, I guess until they can get to more of these later tier units, as that orc gets lobbed over the shield wall and stabbed in the back line, yeah, they are still pretty dark. And this is with my reshader on as well. If we go back to the battle, you can see I've even got my reshader on right now as well, which is making the battle a little bit brighter as well. So even without that, it gets pretty bad. And it's definitely bad. Like if I look at it from this direction, oh my god, it looks amazing, right? Like, you know, the orcs look pretty bright. And the same position may look, you know, fine, and as soon as it looks like that, it's just pure darkness. I really don't understand the Attila lighting. That it's only dark from one side. Obviously, something to do with the sun, but they just need to make it so that it's always like this. I don't know if there is a way to do that, but just make it so that this is the 360-degree brightness, and that literally solves every Attila issue in the game. But right now, anyway, back to me complaining about Total War Attila. We are seeing some of the elves charging in on this left flank, and this is going to be a juicy combat for them. A unit of heavily armored elite elves smashing into just some puny orc warriors. That is not going to be a good fight for them whatsoever. They've thrown 2 units of their shock infantry over here, but do remember, the elven units do come in 100-man blobs, whereas the orcs come in 225-man blobs. So you can really see the sheer difference in quality in them units. The elves are designed for an elite kind of position to hold. And it's up to the orcs to really send their men through. You can already see some Titus Pullos of the world out there fighting out of formation. Orc pillagers being committed off there in the distance. Again, that's going to be a really important unit to throw in because of their sheer, you know, armor piercing that they have is really nice indeed. But more of a battle line over on this side. Sorry, went to the darkness there. You can see the spearmen defending as best they can. Spearmen are not a unit that is really going to be super effective at killing these orcs. They are also fighting the phantom units of Dol Guldur as well. One of the more elite units that they do have to offer. And we take a nice little overview of the battlefield as well from here. You can see that a lot of the units are breaking quite handedly. The elven front line is holding. They've been able to to really throw themselves up. However, more of the Gold War blades are now being committed. Again, these are the higher tier units. So they are committing. They obviously threw forward their more weaker units to begin the battle. And you can see a lot of them have routed now. And we are seeing the better units now charging into the fight, which is obviously what we'd expect to see. Dol Guldur actually pulling back a lot of their line, almost giving up that front line. I mean, they didn't really do much damage to it, killing a handful of these elves. Nothing too crazy, but being able to break them down is always nice. They really are trying to focus down on this left-hand side as best as they can. And oh, they've been able to catch some of the enemy rangers in the forest. That's actually really good for them. Because again, as you guys know, every unit they take care of is a big thing. And now we are seeing the last of the reserves from this one player now being sent in. We've got Uruk Throng from Mordor. more orc pillagers. Oh yeah, something as well I didn't even mention as well. So we're playing with a mod that allows for players to combine. I think it's called the Rise of Mordor add-on mod, and it basically allows the players to go ahead and have any of the evil factions in one big army. So if they wanted to, one player could pick Easterlings, Haradrim, Mordor, Orcs, Dol Guldur, Isengard, and have them all in one player, which is obviously perfect for these scenario battles. But yeah, now we're seeing more of the Mordor forces being... Actually, we're seeing all the reserves now being thrown up. Obviously, that was like the front guard for them. And yeah, we're seeing a fallback. The elves have held this position, and the frontal kind of engagement forces are now deciding that, hey, we should pull back, wait for our reinforcements, and then smash through this. Really cool stuff. So the orcs are in full-on retreat, pulling back from that initial engagement. I think that's a very smart idea, and also quite cinematic, right? The frontal tendrils of the orc force hit into resistance in the forest. They weren't expecting it, and now they're, after that initial skirmish that we saw, they have now pulled back, and they are now meeting up with the main body of their army that has the elite forces and has the stronger units. Like these Orc Throng are a very capable unit. So now they're pulling back, a really cool kind of skirmish part of the battlefield. Because obviously skirmishes were extremely, prevalent in battles. So it was great to kind of see one in this one. I actually really like that. I've actually never really seen much of that in Total War. So we'll be seeing them pull back. What I'll do is I'll skip ahead until I assume this force is closer into the engagement and ready to push forward. And I really wonder if the Elven reinforcements are going to come. Like, these guys might just decide that it's not worth it. They'll hold with what they have and pull all of these soldiers back. It'll be very interesting to see exactly how that does play out. But yeah, what we'll do is we'll jump ahead now until the reinforcements have arrived, and then we will dive into this final stage of the battle. So as you can see, this elven contingent does not look very healthy anymore compared to what is moving towards it. I mean, look at this. We've got 14,000. How many soldiers? 12,500 soldiers now marching towards what is probably roughly around about 2,500 elves. They are outnumbered almost by 10 times, and reinforcements need to be sent. And some are, but not enough. We only have, 3 units being slowly moved towards. I think the elves are really trying to play the long game, inflicting as much damage as they can, and then they're going to retreat with a major contingent. They're not looking for an all-out battle here, because an all-out battle would definitely not be in their favor in a position like this. As we know, they only have to defend for 30 minutes to really class this as a victory. And I think they're going to definitely need to hold this line. So really just trying to they're thinking about the war, not the battle, which is such a cool kind of way to think about it. Something that we don't normally do. It's normally just individual battles. But yeah, the Elven players are really thinking about the overall war of the ring rather than this individual battle that, might be lost. Again, this is just an initial skirmish, really, in the grand scheme of the scenarios. As well as that, we should also be seeing many more factions being added to this scenario battle as well. So we should hopefully see factions from all over Middle-earth being brought into this scenario, which is very, very cool. And always exciting to see, who will reign supreme. Will it be the forces of evil, or will it be the forces of good? And here we go, more soldiers being brought up here. Again, orc rabble being thrown in. I also really like this. I'm not sure if this is one of the, if this is a new unit of Orc Rabble that has been added. I think this might have been updated in the last patch, but it looks really good. They've done a great job of improving the older Mordor models. They really, really have. And yeah, they're looking to really envelop their army. The elves are pulling back now, and all the reinforcements, all the reinforcements are now on the move. So yeah, please let me know, the guys who played in this battle, because I'm sure they'll watch this. Let us know in the comments, did you guys, have like a set reinforcement where your soldiers can only come in at a certain time, or was it a fact that you just maybe didn't want to commit them all to the battle? Because right now the elves are pulling back, but the orcs are out for blood right now. They seize an opportunity, considering they have like 15,000 soldiers here. They know that victory is at hand, and yeah, they sense blood in the water, and they are pursuing the elves, realizing that they could do a mortal blow to them in this scenario battle. Charging forward, pursuing them. And unfortunately, I don't think the elves have too much more room to maneuver to get the hell out of here. I think roughly there's about 10 minutes left that they have to hold off before they can surrender. Before they can retreat. And just look at that. Some of the Orc players have now been, they've been caught out right here. And even with the elite two-handed swords going in, I mean, they'll cut these Orcs apart. Rip them asunder. But this has pinned them down. It's bought time for the rest of the army to now make their way in. Oh, that was a beautiful animation right there. But yeah, as you can see, being able to pin down some units has been really good because now we get much better units being committed to the battle. This unit of Orc pillagers now with their great armor piercing, obviously these huge weapons smashing into the side of the spearmen, a perfect unit to take them out, and the numbers are just going to be simply overrunning them. Luckily, as you can see, reinforcements are arriving, and yeah, I think this timer was roughly around about 35 minutes, so I think in probably about 6 to 7 minutes, the elves can start to retreat if they can make it though, as the Orcs are throwing everything they have at them. Again, just trying to do as much damage as physically possible. Both sides looking to rack up casualties. I mean, all in all, the elves have almost done 4,000 casualties and they've only lost 300 men. But again, that's something you have to remember, is the elves start off with so few men in their units. So when they do start to condense them down, it's really going to be a big deal. Again, we can do some little slow-mo here as the Orc Throng now get advanced in. And again, the Orc Throng, the dudes you can see with the bigger shields, are much more capable of holding the line and pushing back and keeping the enemy at bay. You can see them right there. Moving in, open mouth, ready to rip the jugular out of any elf that finds their way. And again, they're just really using their advantage in numbers to envelop the elven formation. You can see them pushing around this left-hand side, being met by the reserves of the elves. Reinforcements are going to be turning up sooner rather than later. We are also now seeing as well the Elven General. This is also one of the objectives for the Forces of Evil, is to try and slay Thranduil. I assume that he'll be in this unit. So if they can get a lucky kill on the General unit as well, that's going to class a victory for the Forces of Evil. Luckily, the cavalry is moving out. How many kills? Already up to 124 kills just from charging in against the Orc warriors. Does not surprise me. And then immediately, the sword masters hitting into the rear of this unit, pursuing the cavalry. Yeah, I mean, that's just meats back on the menu for these elves. It always reminds me, whenever I see a situation like this, where you've got an elite two-handed shock infantry unit going into the side of Orc rabble, it reminds me of The Hobbit in the Battle of the Five Armies, where it's like 2 dwarfs and there's like, oh, a couple of goblin, it was like a couple hundred of goblin mercenaries. It'll be no problem whatsoever. And it's like, there's 200 of them and 2 of you. I think even that, would be a bit of a problem. But I guess not, because I've seen videos of Japanese sword masters taking on hundreds of kids and they win, so maybe that's exactly what it would be like. Back to the battle and back to Middle-earth. We are seeing the front lines being put under a lot of pressure as the full force of Gundabad and Mordor get committed to this fight, and the elves are fighting, I think, very much an uphill battle. But a battle they're doing a good job at holding right now. The flanks are doing good. These spearmen are keeping at bay the Goldor blades. Even with phantoms and other units moving around the flanks, the elven reinforcements are now here, and that morale is causing a big issue. We still have an entire contingent of infantry left back here though, and having this army being committed to the battle a little bit later will be great. It'll be great to counter these reinforcing units that are now finding their way into the battle. The front line is being completely overrun now as we get a bit closer down into this battle, and you guys can see that we do have Orc warriors, Uruk Throng, pikemen, and many more soldiers being brought up. And now these elves are completely surrounded. These reinforcements need to try their best to relieve this pocket and get their soldiers some respite, because as you can see, they are fighting back to back with their elven kin. And if the elves do decide to ditch their allies and just fall back after this, that's also going to be pretty scary, because a lot of these soldiers just cannot retreat anymore. They are surrounded. So yeah, reinforcing this section of the battlefield is going to be really important. If we take a look at the kills as well, you can see now the fighting is really clanked in. Yeah, the elves have almost lost 1,000 men, and the orcs are turning up quite quickly to that 5,000 man casualty. However, the orcs can take it. The elves are going to really struggle as this battle does continue on. And obviously we do have this reinforcement army as well turning up very soon. And at the end of the day as well, with these units routing, it's not going to be too bad because they rout, but they still got, 50 orcs, 83 orcs in their unit. These units can be merged together for the next battle. So even though the Orcs do have bad morale, it's not the end of the world because it actually kind of works in their favor for a longer scenario battle because it allows them to then reform these units even when their units do end up routing, which is quite a nice way of doing it. The nice thing here as well, the elves have been able to surround in the forest a unit of a poor Orc boys right there. The Orc warriors finding themselves enveloped, just like the elves are finding themselves enveloped over through the woodland right there. Very cool scenes as more regiments get committed to the front line. And if we take a look over on this right-hand side, again, you can see more of the reserves being committed in. We are also seeing the champion of Dol Guldur general unit actually being thrown in outside of the woods over on this left-hand side. A great unit to obviously take them on. I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure if they can clarify this in the comments, if the evil generals, if they go down, if that's going to be a problem, or if another Orc's just going to take that mantle. I do know for a fact that if the Elven generals die, that's going to be a big hit to the overall campaign. So they obviously want to try and avoid that as best as they can. And this is obviously a great unit to have in the fight. This unit of 165 elite shock infantry. You can see very heavy shock infantry. It is big, but a massive rout for the Orcs, losing a lot of their lower tier units. The Orc rabble, the Orc warriors are now finding themselves completely gone. We also have the Elven general over here, up to 200 kills right now. He's just picking off at the flanks very effectively as more of the Goldor blades now get committed. This last reserve army is now throwing everything it's got, and I think the elves will be able to start doing a fighting retreat momentarily if they want to. I mean, Bouncer Power Bar is still in favor of the forces of evil as the arrows come flying in, obviously trying to pick away at this unit back here, really trying to take down, the polearms. And I've done a good job of it. These polearms are now down to 76 men, so really obviously trying to focus down the elite units. Oh, we also have a unit of guards of the teeth in here. This unit is extremely deadly. The polearms you're seeing, yeah, one of the best polearm units in the game. And right now, this is just a sheer cluster of soldiers. Both sides throw themselves forward, looking already just to cause blood in this scenario. And that's what's going to be really cool as well, because we've actually got quite a bloody first battle. It's going to be very fun to see how the other factions, what happens when, if Rohan arrive, or maybe the dwarves turn up into Mirkwood, or, all these other factions entering, and, what's left is going to really dictate how the battles do evolve, which is pretty exciting as more and more arrows come flying in overhead as Orc and Elf fight bravely for their appropriate cause in the forest as well. So again, Bounce Power is looking good for evil, and yeah, they're racking up quite nicely on this flank. They've kind of managed to get their way around here, taking down a lot of the polearms. Arrow fire focusing down this big blob of infantry, not a bad idea whatsoever. And you are starting to see, we're starting to see some of the units of the elves being thrown back. This unit of swordmasters though have definitely earned their keep for the day. 340 kills is insane. Do keep in mind though, like something to obviously, just kind of put at the back of your memory, is that the elves obviously are fighting very large units. So they're fighting 250 man units of orcs. So obviously they're going to have a decent kills compared to where the Orcs, where, say for example, they only get 100 kills, but then 100 kills are on very expensive units. So again, in these battles, do kind of keep that in mind when we do see the final kill count. It may look like a slaughter for one side, but when you think about the money value of these units, it definitely is not the case. And if any Orc unit in this battle gets over 100 kills, that's just as much as, say, an Elven unit getting 300 kills. So do just keep that in mind as the front lines continue just to viciously fight. I mean, surely one side must be close to breaking right now. And I wouldn't be surprised as well if we did start to see the elves falling back again. All the orcs need to really do is just push their way through here and get some units to the end. But a lot of their front line is completely breaking. This unit of orc pikes is now gone. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I've had to turn off the sound because for some reason I've never heard that before. It sounds like the devil himself is trying to bring me over to his side. Sauron has invaded my earphones and it is just so much static. I've never heard Total War Attila do that, so I've just had to mute all the sounds. So I do apologize. Obviously, you'll still have music playing in the background because the Rise of Mordor music is copywritten, so I do have to add my own music in. But no more battle sounds, unfortunately. However, as you can see, the final reserve guard are now being sent in. And I have to say, the elven reinforcements look very much untouched. Obviously, a lot of their front lines looking very strong. But yeah, having all these orcs breaking it is pretty bad. They are being sent back to the Dark Lord. We are seeing this elven general, though, getting pretty low, down to 29 men. If he goes down, that's going to be a big blow to the overall campaign for the elves if he loses that unit. And obviously, these Mirkwood raiders can continue to lob in javelins and do some serious work. Got a pretty good engagement over here as this unit of elven two-handed swordsmen, up to 300 kills, and now fighting more of the Dogor blades, doing the best that they can. Let's also see if the music is still there. I'll let you guys hear it for a second. Yep, no, okay, cool. Sauron's still coming. I've never heard Total War Attila do that before, but we will avoid that like the plague. This cavalry needs to be very careful because these javelins could decimate the Elkim riders if they're not careful. So we're really going to be pushing down this flank and obviously avoiding them javelins as best as they can. Because one volley could definitely take out the Lord, and there he is himself, riding upon his steed. Very, very cool indeed. The last of the Orc reserves are being committed now, but I think the balance of power is going to shift in front of the Elves. The Elves have so many elite soldiers still left remaining, and that morale is just not there. It is really, obviously, one of the downsides of them. And there you go, a nice little charge right there. However, I think we might see the Elven General breaking very, very soon. Because he's down to 27 men. He needs to be careful. I mean, he's got 430 kills, which is absolutely unreal. But if he dies, then that's gonna be catastrophic. So we'll obviously keep a close little eye on that over here. Plenty of men are now going down. But yeah, I think the elven front line is easily won this. They're close to breaking in the center here, as more of the guards of the teeth now being sent up. The Orc General up to 95 kills, and then they've only lost 12 men. Is not bad. It does seem like the Dogwall champions as well about to go down. Only 4 men left in that general unit. Unless this is the general right here, I think his days are definitely numbered. And just the overall feel of the battle, it seems like the elves have been able to reinforce, committing their reserves, and just that sheer quality is going to hold the day. But yeah, there you go. I don't know if that general is still alive or not. I mean, I guess we can see if we take a nice little look in there. Yeah, I mean, Frangil is still alive. You can see him right there. Obviously, he's the one not wearing a helmet, just like a good old Hollywood actor, so you know it's him. So yeah, he is still alive, but yeah, I think the battle is close to over, and the Orcs are going to be pushed back. So I wonder how that is going to affect the scenario. The Elves just able to claim a victory in this battle. So obviously that's going to dictate it. So yeah, and now that they've been able to win this, at least I assume they're going to. It just looks, yeah, their balance power is heavily in their favor. Because the elves have now won this battle, that's going to mean that the next scenario that we'll be seeing, if you guys want to see it as well, is going to be completely different to what I assume the forces of Mordor were going to rip through these guys and really push their way onwards deeper into Mirkwood. But now they've lost, you know, this will mean that the elves will probably be on the offensive. And they'll be going into the next battle with a very good advantage, I think, and able to really start to put that on their side. Which is, of course, super exciting. And right now, they are just cutting down the soldiers. I mean, it might not be a bad idea just to cut their losses and just retreat out. Get anything they can out of here. Because look at that, just mass routes across the board. The Orcs are fleeing back into the forest. Again, not the end of the world, because as you can see, the Orcs are retreating in pretty large numbers, right? It's not like the Orcs, when they break, they only have like 2 or 3 men left like the Elves. So even though they are breaking, they still have plenty of soldiers left to fight another day. And their units will be reformed for the next engagement. But still, bad to see. The Mordor general getting out of there. I assume Frangil just about survived in that engagement as well. Yeah, he's down to, what, like 13 men. So he was very, very ballsy in that battle, but he did survive. So props off to him, getting his sword bloody, and that is going to be the end of the battle. The last soldiers fleeing into the mountain. So how many soldiers? Oh my god. I mean, obviously, again, a lot of soldiers routed, so realistically, the elves probably killed about 8,000 to 9,000 men. But yeah, I mean, that initial force of 15,000 Dol Guldur orcs completely got on. The elves winning a decisive victory, only losing 2,000 men. I mean, obviously, it's going to be hard because when they come up against other factions, they're only going to have 3,000 men left. And they did lose a handful of their archers. I don't know how. I assume the Elkim riders just get all their soldiers back and all the other units merge into one. But the Elven archers, you know, a lot of them survived. They did lose a handful of their rangers, so that's going to obviously reduce their skirmish capability for the next battle. But overall, a decisive victory. Says close defeat. I think it was definitely a decisive victory for the elves, for sure. And yeah, look at that. Over 10,000 losses, 10,500 losses right there, and just over 2,000 losses for the elves. A lot of their units racking up a lot of kills. Again, every soldier with 200 plus kills is kind of like an orc unit, so look at it that way. Every soldier that got 200 kills is basically like they took out an enemy unit, and you know, if they have anything left, that's really impressive. And you can see them elves just with so many kills, and there you go, Frandriel himself, 400 kills. Absolutely insane. Definitely the MVP. I don't think anyone else. I say that back because, you know, Forest Rangers got 500 kills. This unit got 500 kills as well. My god. What are they doing? I know they got a lot of kills to begin with, but still. That is crazy. And then for Dol Guldur, again, anyone who gets close to 100 kills is going to be really good on their part. So yeah, the Guards of the Teeth, really, really good showing. I mean, even these Orc warriors as well doing not too bad. 170 kills is extremely impressive against the elves. And even these Orc warriors, like 91 kills on Orc warriors is pretty goddamn decent. So, yeah, Dol Guldur trying their best, trying to use their numbers. Obviously, that lack of cavalry really hurt them. So hopefully we'll see some extra units being brought in. And I am very much looking forward to the next scenario battle because that's going to obviously give the Woodland realm and the elves the advantage. So we'll have to see how that goes, how that affects the next scenario. And if you guys want to see that, make sure you drop a like down below, and obviously go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment as well. Let me know what you guys think will happen in this scenario. Let me know if you have any scenario ideas of your own. I'm sure they'll read them comments and take them into considerations, or any cool ideas for stuff they could implement into this scenario. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and fish